Hello, folks, and welcome to a Clarity game. This is going to be a regular series where myself and Zombie Grub bring you a game from a member of Clarity Gaming, usually an excellent replay that was provided to us by one of them, so you can see exactly what kind of stuff they have to offer. But on Word, casting with me is Zombie Grub, and I'm excited for a TVZ. How about yourself?
Yeah, especially on Whirlwind.
Especially on Whirlwind. Loads of fun. Spawning in the lower right, it's going to be Clarity Gaming's player from the Clarity Gaming Academy. He's the Red Terran EliGe.
And in the upper left on Whirlwind, it's going to be a blue Zerg. It's going to be Barcode. That's what it is.
Barcode, the most mysterious of all players. He's playing this game as two different races at the same time, so we already know he's got crazy stuff going on. Usually holding the top 10 spots on the Korean ladder. Can Barcode beat Barcode, though? We'll have to see here. It's cross positions Whirlwind, so a whole lot of stuff can happen. Depending on whether or not it's up on the YouTube yet, we did go ahead and cast Bad Cop versus Min Suk, another excellent TVZ on Whirlwind. So if you're all about that, kind of like we are, you definitely want to check that game out, and I hope this game lives up to it.
Yeah, that last game that we casted was absolutely amazing. Really, comeback tale, I guess. The Terran was down by 80 supply, and he came back, and I'll have to see how EliGe will do against this Barcode. This was played on the European server or the Korean server?
No, this is the Korean server, I think.
Okay.
Actually, wait.
No, the Korean server would be...
the Korean server would be Min Suk. That makes sense, yeah.
There you go. Alright, so this is the EU server.
Right.
Still, very high quality stuff here. These guys are in the Academy for Clarity, but they're still very, very good. Both of these guys got really far into that Clarity recruitment tournament and showed some really, really good skills.
Yeah, definitely, and they were rewarded for it, and they're also... we're definitely going to be seeing them a lot more, talking to the guys. They're entering in a lot of tournaments, bearing the Clarity brand, so don't be surprised to see players like Mystery, Bales, Bones, Bad Cop, EliGe, and many more kind of going out there and tearing it up on behalf of the Clarity Academy. And I'm kind of excited about, this being two different servers game. We can see two different styles. Of course, EliGe and Bad Cop, I believe both North American players, but... their opponents, the Korean style shown by Min Suk in that last game, was a very mutiling, baneling, pretty aggressive, lot of mutalists, which was very interesting. And we'll see exactly how this European Zerg decides to change that up, if at all.
Yeah, if at all. Whirlwind's kind of a tricky one. You really don't want to go Roach Hydra on it, because dealing with those drops, it was a hard enough with Mutiling Bling, wasn't it, with that last game? But with Roach Hydra, it's almost impossible. It's
next to impossible. And especially against... if you were going to Roach Hydra against Bad Cop, who is perfectly okay with throwing away his medevacs anyway, you're never going to catch them all with Infestor, so he's going to have 20 medevacs on top of his army by the time he pushes. So, yeah, I definitely have to agree. Roach Hydra is just weak on this map inherently.
Exactly. So I would be really surprised if that happens. Of course, you can do a lot of other things. We didn't see an all-in, for instance, from any player in the last game. As we can see, there's a 14cc, and as far as the opening... builds, they're both playing very, very standard, but of course the mid game could always be different. Whirlwind, even though it's really long, really big, it does make itself very almost mind gamey. You can do those early to mid game attacks where your opponent says, well, it's Whirlwind, it's not going to happen. Well, actually it's pretty effective, especially if you're trying to get that early third base and you're trying to cover all this area against Baneling and Mutants, or Baneling and Ling. It's definitely very difficult.
Yeah, it's very ripe for the meta game, and you can take advantage of that in some way. We're going to see EliGe here going directly for a factory, not opting for an early Reaper. On Whirlwind, Reaper's not really the best. It's a long rush distance to begin with, and even then there's not a lot of places for them to hop up, so they can get cornered pretty easy. It's nice for the scout, but if you're pretty confident in your ability to at least get to the early to mid game and survive any aggression, then you don't need to waste your gas on a Reaper. You can instead go for those quicker Hellions.
Yeah, and we'll have to see if he goes for that really greedy style like Bad Cop, his teammate, which is that fast third command center plus the 2 fast NG bays. That's what a lot of Terrans have been doing, but as we can see, the Zerg player is doing a little something different. Our last Zerg player did go for that Speedling expand, but he went up to 2 gases after not going for that initial 15 gas. No quick third, which is what it might have been until he put those gases up. So these gases are going to contribute to, A, the meta boost not being too late, thanks to not getting that 15, just a better economy, and B, maybe something mid-game like I was talking about.
Yeah, those mid-game Ling Baneling or Roach Ling Baneling aggressions that Terrans who are opening without tanks are finding very difficult to deal with. We do have the third command center is down right in the front, so EliGe not looking to hide a single thing. This is perfectly normal metagame for Terrans, so it's still greedy, but Zerg's very used to it, so it's not going to be the biggest reveal to see that third command center. And the question is, though, I mean, actually with the third command center as part of his wall, it's kind of going to benefit him pretty nicely.
That is an interesting wall. Sometimes you see double engineering bay as part of the wall, which I don't know. I don't know if that's good. But the command center, that's definitely really beefy. And of course, you can just lift it if things look like they're going to come in with like 30 banes. But yeah, that's interesting. And like you said, it's not too surprising for him to see it. He's like, okay, well, I didn't have to send an overlord to see it, so that's great, I guess. But we do see roaches coming out right now for our Bodker play. This could just be preemptive for any type of Hellbat drops, which, as we talked about last time, very prevalent in every single matchup, even some in TVP. So that's not actually what's going to happen, but those roaches are going to help out at least against the Hellions as well.
Yeah, they'll be able to control that area, and the creep spread getting out there pretty nicely as well. We are going to see the Overlord getting sacked into the main, and it's going to see, well, it's going to get nice information. Going to get the double eBay, so very greedy play from the Terran player, as well as the Rax, which, 100% confirmed bio. And the Roaches, meanwhile, going to chase away the Hellions, who are looking for a third. Has he actually seen it over on the top yet? Okay, he has, so he's completely aware of what's going on.
Yeah, I just now found the roaches that SCV scout originally that got denied, did not scout anything, didn't scout the gases, didn't scout the roach warren, so now these roaches are a little bit of a surprise, but they're only 5. Need to be careful, need to make sure that he does scout that third though. Or he did, rather, but he needs to make sure to scout behind it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. These roaches, they could only be 5, or they could be being leaders of like 15 more or something like that, so they're pushing forward rather aggressively too, so you usually see them more defensive back on the creep.
Yeah, you got to be really worried, because if the Hellions slip around them, the Roaches are not going to get back home in time to defend. So, especially on Whirlwind, you got to be careful how you push. Does have Speedlings back at home to defend in case of that eventuality, but looks like EliGe's just going to tuck it in, play it close to his chest. He's got the Widow Mines up. Just going to get a nice solid standing army up before he does go ahead and decide to lay down that third. Meanwhile, the Zerg lair on the way. No Baneling Nest, so there doesn't look to be any aggression coming. You can't really just go with Roaches. I mean, you can, but it's much better to mix in the Banelings there if there's a large amount of Marines. Otherwise, you can just get stomped.
Yeah. As we can see back on EliGe's side of the base, one's going back up, is that he did build a second bunker, so it was kind of like a middle road response. He was scared that the Roaches were pushing out so far, and I think that's what the Zerg player wanted, was to scare him into thinking, oh, there's like 30 Lings coming your way too. And EliGe's response was just to build one bunker and then see how that panned out. Of course, he did salvage it once he realized, no, it's not coming, and he's going to take that third additionally while realizing that the Zerg is just going to play standard.
Yeah, risky business, but kind of metagaming each other. Not going to force him to make too much defense. He's still going to get his third down in a timely manner and be able to defend that. And this is going to be a much easier spot to defend than like we see a lot of times. For example, if these were vertical spawns, then you're kind of forced to take the command center over at the 6 o'clock. But with this, you can kind of spread your forces in a nice little arc where it's a little bit easier to defend, especially if there's a run by back into your main or something.
Yeah. Whirlwind's always difficult to defend all your bases for any race, really. Just they're pretty wide apart, but it does favor the medevacs just being able to go into that third and then into the second. And that's why you see that the third has been taken like it is for the Zerg. It's not quite as easy to hop between bases. The Hellions now are dead. Around the 11-minute mark is usually when you see a lot of Lings coming to kill your Hellions, so not too big a surprise there. But 2-2, Baneling Nest, and a Spire on the way, so once again, Mutiling Bling.
Mutiling Bling, not a surprise. It would be kind of a weird situation if he didn't. We do have a Hellbat mixed into this army, kind of randomly, or maybe not randomly, I'm not sure. 2 Hellbats, so maybe possibly in there for a drop later. Of course, they are very good against Lings. And I also like how the Zerg player, he pulled back around halfway across the map, just in case those Hellions were luring him into a Widow Mine. So once he chased them off his side of the map, he was very conservative, and that's something you got to be hyper aware of, because Widow Mines can ruin your day very quickly.
Yep. We already see some static D going down for our Zerg player. He's gotten a spore in each base. That could be, in case Hellbat drops are coming, although we didn't actually see those Hellbats. But otherwise, just for any medevacs, really. It really helps out to take out the medevac in any situation. It takes away a lot of the power of the drop, of course. So very nice to see. And it looks like EliGe is going to push out right here with those 2 Hellbats. And I'm not sure they're a mistake, but they're actually very helpful. You can either go... You want any type of splash in your army, unless you're going pure bio, which is a little dangerous. And Hellbats do count as splash, and they do soak up a lot of Banelings, so they're definitely very useful.
Yeah, they definitely won't hurt this push. Kind of an anti-timing, though. 2-2 isn't really going to finish in time for this push, I mean, depending on where it takes us, but there's still about 30 seconds left. The Zerg could charge in at any time, and he doesn't have enough medevacs to evacuate absolutely everything, especially with those Hellbats in there, so he's got to be careful about how far he extends.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised he's extending as far as he was. I expected him only to clear up the front creep, but he's still pushing in. He's not scanning ahead. There could be like 30 Banelings waiting for him, but he is taking that chance. And in from the back, nice splitting, minimizes the damage, but it will just be cleaned up by the rest of the Lings. He should just pick up at this point. No, takes out a few Overseers, and now the Mutalisk come in, and his chance of picking up and leaving has gone. He's trying to take out the Mutalisk, which is nice micro, but he wants to save these Medivacs, which is
yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, book it with the Medivacs. Did actually pick up a large number of those Metas, flew in there with about 7 or 8, now only down to 2. So that's actually a nice micro there. Usually doesn't work out in the favor of the Terran in that case because you're so close to the reinforcements. But Zerg going to extend a bit far here. The Widowman's kind of getting caught out. They're going to get burrowed. Not enough Mutalisks to focus them down effectively. And Terran is going to hold the center now and start just keep remaxing his army, getting that bigger bio ball.
Yeah, exactly. And the fourth is, I think, faster than Bad Cup. So he's going to have a nice economy, a little bit faster. He's not going to rely too much on this push really doing damage. But it would be great if he could take out the fourth. That's really where Whirlwind comes down to it in a macro game, is the pressure on the fourth and whether or not you can break the Zerg. And he does not want to be broken right here. Widowmines are burrowing, and they hit mostly Marines, to be honest. Did not go very well at all for EliGe.
No, not a good trade. It's going to completely stop any pressure that was going to get put on that fourth for the Zerg player. And the rallying units could get taken out here as well, although the Widowmines might have something to say about that. Actually ended up blowing up a medevac there. But the bio here should be able to clean up the Mutalisks. But actually, with Roaches and Lings coming behind, it's going to be a very even trade. But losing these medevacs is so painful.
Yeah, really. He's back down to 2, but just like Bad Cup, he's very good about replenishing them. So 2 more are on the way out. But the drops are not really happening so far. He's not dropping anywhere I can see on the map, and his medevac count is so low that does he really want to? I'm not so sure. We do see that he's mixing a lot more Marauders, so that's just kind of a stylistic thing. You can just pull back the Marines and hope they aren't microing their Baneling quite correctly and explode on the Marauders, which is always nice. They really help out with the Widowmines in Tangent.
Yeah, definitely. Absorbing a lot more damage just kind of all around, and it's good. It's a much less vulnerable bioforce when you see the Marauders in there, but now the Lings going for the full surround here. Widowmine can actually burrow trying to, but even if it goes off, it's going to be huge damage. Wow, gets a lot of Zerglings there, though.
Yeah, nice pickup and boost away. That could have gone 4GG bad, but it didn't. He's now pushing forward, taking out the Overseers. He did not get Overlord speed, I believe. That's why they're trailing behind. You might want to invest in that just so he can't... He's not at a point where he goes in with the Mutalisk and says, I don't hope there's no Widowmine because I don't have an Overseer. You never want that to happen.
Yeah, it's not a guessing game you're generally going to come out the winner of, because guess what? There are Widowmines. I'll just tell you right now. And they are going to mess up your day. So get back there until you have the Overlords, or the Overseers, rather. We don't have Overlord speed on the field for the Zerg player, though. So, we were kind of talking about that last game, how the Mutalisks just fly ahead of the Overseers, and the Widowmines pick them off anyway. So don't want to be in a situation like that. Bio continuing to press forward. The Widowmines now have Drilling Claws, so they get in the ground very quickly, but not the best explosions for the Terran as the Zerg swarms in and just try to pick everything off again.
Yeah, and that actually went okay, even with the back attack with the Zerg. They both trade relatively even. Of course, the medevac's going down. The gas-heavy units you never want to lose, and he just lost all of them. But he's going to come forward and maybe even take off a few Mutalisk, and yes, he will. Why are the Mutalisk attacking here? They have no reason to. This isn't near his base at all, and he just lost 2 for I don't know why.
Yeah, those are 3-3 Marines against 0-1 Mutalisks. Not a good trade, won't ever be a good trade, and it's going to lose a little bit of its momentum, but the Lings continuing to press forward, picking off Widowmines every single time this attack happens. So there's actually only 6 Widowmines on the field now for EliGe. I'm not actually sure where they are. They're not with his army. They must be in a defensive position back at home.
Yeah, I see 1 at that 3rd, and then, yeah, you're right, I don't see any of the Widowmines. They're producing, I guess. Oh, they're stuck.
Oh, that hurts.
Yeah, the natural. There's 4 of them just stuck. It's very unfortunate to have to lift that barracks if he wants to get those out. And you do want, that's definitely worth lifting a barracks and getting those Widowmine counts up.
Yeah, sacrifice that 1 tech lab. It's going to be okay. You can keep replenishing with Marauders, no problem. And if he doesn't notice that, especially with the Drilling Claws, his Widowmines have so much potential. There we go. He is going to let them free. They were caged, but now they can spider their way out into the middle of the map where all hell's going to break loose, as there's a lot of Ling Muta Baneling here and no Widowmines to back it up.
Yeah, he needs to run away. So far, the Zerg has been very good at, actually hitting the really good units and then having enough Lings to pick up the Marauders and Marines afterwards. So he's been trading pretty effectively, and now he's on 5 bases with very good, injects and macro hatches everywhere. So, and even some really good stat D in a lot of places. A small drop is coming. Well, actually, 2 medevac drop coming. It looks like it is spotted though, and should be cleaned up before it can take out the 5th. So, not a big problem for a Zerg player.
Nope, and he might be able to pick up the medevacs as well. The meter count not absurdly high, just kind of, let's see how many, he's got 7 here. Usually between that, usually you want around 10, but oh, actually going to trade again poorly with these Marines.
Yeah, I'm not sure if going out that far into creep like that was a good idea, knowing that the units were slightly behind you. So the Lings are just so plentiful. There's even some more Banelings in there. They should be able to clean up this really hurting army. And the Mutalisk will come forward. I mean, he's not Mutalisk count anymore, does he? He only has 5, so the Medevac should just stay really, really healthy as the game goes on. And now we see Ultras out on the field. They're going to have 3-3 with all the upgrades, even the Adrenal Glands going down. So you can have a very powerful army. But luckily, EliGe has been going that Marine Marauder style, so he's not totally devoid of those Marauders that you really need against Ultralisk.
Yeah, that's where some Terrans can be caught off guard if you weren't prepared for the Ultralisk. You just have a bunch of Marine Widow Mine. It's pretty bad. You can still live. Widow Mines they take a big dent. They take out like 1/4 of an Ultralisk HP, so yeah, they do serious damage. Yeah. But you want Marauders.
Yeah, you really do. You want to have that really mobile army, and you want to start dropping. Really take advantage of the fact that their mutacount's not going to be high anymore because they're going to put all their gas into Ultralisk or even Infestors. And you do want something, either a lot of Lings to hold back the army from microing against the Ultralisk, or Infestors. And it looks like our Zerg's choice is just a lot of Lings to hold back so the Ultras can actually reach the army. The army of Terran is still really good. It's currently 200 to 186. Zerg player having a tough time actually getting max on these really mineral gas-heavy Ultralisk, but it's still a very scary army.
Yeah, definitely. Not something you can engage willy-nilly. You want those Widow Mines to be burrowed properly. And I really like the high amount of Lings that we have in here for the Zerg player, because without the Ling backup, everything dies very quickly. The Ultralisk get focused down very quickly. The Lings are there to absorb the Marauder shots if the Terran isn't focusing properly. So if you make them all into Banelings, then once they explode on the Marauders, they're just kind of gone. Then you're kind of in trouble because the Ultralists are just going to die. So this is a very strong army for the Zerg, very scary, and it looks like EliGe going to be aggressive over here on the... Ooh, nice Baneling hit on those Widow Mines over on the 5th base.
Yeah, and this engagement is going to go down. There's no getting out of it now for EliGe, and he's doing pretty well, actually. A small task force actually takes away 4 Ultralisks, and you do not want to fight with an Ultralisk army in pairs or in groups. You just want to put it all together and have that really scary army. So, EliGe not trading too bad right there, and does get out with at least two full medevacs. And he's stopping... No, he's just only 1 Marine. With that, actually, he's having a tough time just keeping the Zerg on few bases. That's what we really showed last game with Bad Cop, but EliGe is having a much tougher time.
Yeah, like you're saying, he does need to start dropping, abusing any immobility that the lack of Mutalisks is going to present a problem here for the Zerg player. He's not going to be able to deal with a lot of drops, but it looks like EliGe's just not confident in having enough army to hold off a direct attack, so he's a little afraid to split up his forces, continually trying to hit this 5th, but the Zerg is pretty much always prepared for it.
Yeah, absolutely prepared. The medevacs will get out, and the Infestors are in the field, so they could fungal, get 2, get 1 with a full unit load too, but that doesn't stop the Zerg army at all. And the planetary is not quite finished. That would help out, but it should just be taken out now. No, he doesn't have enough. No, he's just going for the cutthroat maneuver here, just going straight into that natural area. But there's some good Sim City right here in favor of the Terran.
Yeah, this is a dangerous place for the Zerg. The Ultralisk AI pathing can get a little bit messed up. You see they're focusing on buildings here, which is allowing time for the Bioforce to build up, and they're getting split apart between the 2 pathways. And once you start cramming into the natural, that's where you can trade very poorly with Ultralisks. But he's hitting a lot of the production out here. A Planetary Fortress trying to get completed, but against those cracklings, it's not going to last very long. The Ultralisk in the front of the army, though, getting focused down.
Yeah, he can't push up into that natural. He's going to take out what he can, including a lot of barracks and, of course, that Planetary Fortress. So that was a lot down for Terran player, but he's holding on just barely. His Marauder count's starting to get thinned out. It's only producing 3 at a time. Really, he wants more than that. They will help out against the Lings, of course, and the Ultralisks just aren't aplenty anymore. Mostly just a Ling army after that attack. So Marauder's actually not that needed. The 7 Infestors can be a little scary, though. But the Terran's actually on 6 paces. That is a great economy.
Yeah, he's not going to... suffer in the late game as a result of lack of minerals. He's trying to save this Planetary Fortress here, getting a nice preemptive strike with the SCVs, but it still was not enough, and Lings with and without Adrenal Glands are very different creatures. They can take down Planetaries with it. Looks like most of the bio here are going to get scared away. Widow Mine's trying to do some work, but most of the Lings surviving.
Yep, there was a tiny drop of 3 Marauders up on the right, so stopping the Zerg from at least getting on 6 bases himself, so that's nice. Currently Zerg's only on 2.5, well, I guess now with that planetary down, so is Bad Cop, or EliGe, but that's okay for EliGe. He doesn't mind being on the same economy as the Zerg, and we might just see, similar to the last game we casted, where there's just not enough economy for the Zerg to keep taking bad trades.
Yeah, there's just a lot of bank for the Terran. He can remake his bio army. It's cheap to produce a whole lot of army at once. And like you said, just much more comfortable for Terran in low economy situations. Now we have a nice fungals on that bio there as the Banelings can explode on that, but the bio's spreading very nicely here to deal with any damage from the Banelings. And there's not a whole lot of Ultras here. They can get focused down pretty easy.
Yeah, and they are getting focused down. They're taking most of their army with them. He needs to be careful with those infestors, starting to get targeted down as well. And he needs to pull back. Those infestors are not army. They're not going to fight with an Ultralist die. And finally he pulls back. The Lings are also getting really thinned out. He keeps on coming with a lot of Lings to back up his Ultralisk army, but it's just never quite enough. And it's getting to that point where he's just going to start taking worse and worse trades against this very cost-efficient Terran army.
Yeah, the Widowmine's playing a huge role in that, really thinning out the Ling numbers while the Marauders are free to deal with the Ultralisk. And again, huge Widowmine hits, just destroying all the Zerglings, which can't really compete with Bio under Medivacs. Like, look at this Marauder, it's completely surrounded. It just barely died when it was completely surrounded by, like, a bunch of Cracklings. So you really, really need that Ultralisk back up to deal the damage and then the Lings to soak it up.
One thing that the Zerg player is really lacking right now is an Overseer. He had to fungal a Widowmine to actually get rid of it. It's just actually kind of sad, but definitely needs just morph a few Overseers. It's not like he's that low on gas or minerals. He could definitely afford to morph a few and even get that upgrade for them so they'll actually live longer, but he is not. Widowmines, once again, hitting lots of Lings, even an Infestor going down, and his Infestors are almost out of energy. Once again, using Fungals to try and take out the Widowmines, but only one at a time. That is not a good use of Fungal.
Yeah, this is how he wants to use it. Grabbing all those Medivacs, grabbing all that bio, a couple Ultras here, but again, he's just kind of sending him in 2 at a time. The Zerg needs to pull back, kind of group up his army a little bit. Does have a supply advantage, but if he keeps losing Ultras like this, it's not going to last very long. He wants to control the center of the map, but he's got to clear up these Widowmines first.
Yeah, nice Fungal does take that remainder of the Terran army, but he is getting a great production. He's even getting a few extra command centers to lift off wherever he would like to. So while the army doesn't look that impressive for either player, the economy is really, really great for EliGe, and meanwhile the Zerg economy is starting to really thin out. It's currently only 1.5 bases now.
Yeah, and it's kind of looking like, Zerg thought that he was going to win when he was pushing up into the natural, when he was on top of their production. And since then, he's just been kind of throwing wave after wave down the center of the map. But EliGe has been able to hold his position, keep these Widowmines planted, and, again, like you were saying, without the Overseer, you just can't deal with the Widowmines. You can't be fungling them. The Infestors need to be used for fungling the army and controlling that space a little bit better. And I would just have these kind of tiny little patches of Zerg army that are expensive when you're on this low of an economy. You can't afford to just have them lost like this.
Yeah, and it's really not that scary amount that you want. As you can see, the Marauder just chopping through 2 Ultralisk at a time and even getting the Infestors. You want a lot of Ultralisk in a very scary army at once and really just plow through. And that's not what happened. And as you can see, Zerg player does GG. He just doesn't have enough economy.
Yeah, the GG is thrown down. EliGe has worn him out and taken the victory here on Whirlwind. That was a pretty fun match. Not a whole lot of dropping, instead of a lot of direct engagement in the center, which was pretty cool to watch back and forth. But again, we saw the Terran just kind of slowly climb up, and the momentum of the cost-effective Widowmine trades just kind of brought it. So nice game there for EliGe. Guys, make sure to tune into the YouTube for more Clarity Gaming content. And of course, check out claritygaming.com to learn more about the players and the team.